Hello everyone, Robert Kurnovich with Avero Advisors. I'm here with AV, who you've seen many times before, and we are going to dive into a very interesting subject today.
One of the newest keywords out there, and there's jargon galore in our industry, right? And we heard one yesterday from a large software company that provides services to our clients also, human-centric design. And we got to thinking about what that means, and we don't have an answer yet. But I think there's several ways to look at human-centric design. One of them is to say we've been talking about this for years, right? We talk about business process analysis and redesign and letting people dictate or tell us what their vision is before we bring in a system or IT to make the thing happen for you. So going back to the business process analogy, isn't business process redesign by definition human-centric redesign? Because we're talking to the people that actually do the work.
In the way we do it, yes,
Right.
I agree with that. And I think that's what differentiates us from the way other people look at business process definition is there has to be a reality check on the fact that, especially in local government situations, you're doing something because it's been dictated to you by a council, by your citizens, by compliance, by another agency. So you can't just go best practices and say, this is how the system currently looks, this is the way you should be using it. You're either going to get pushback from those end users or that process is going to fail. So one of the things that has to be kept in mind on things like that is the practical reality of what that organization has to do. That, in my mind, lends towards human-centric, and maybe that's a better definition or getting closer.
Yeah, I mean, it ties back to our other video too about why we're not a tech firm, right? We have more characteristics of a therapy office at times because we're dealing with people and we're helping them achieve their vision of their leadership position, or if they're just a line worker, a staff person, we're also helping them achieve their vision and their potential through thinking about how their workday goes and how they should be doing certain tasks without falling prey to 30-year-old technology or inefficient processes.
We just got this order given to us by a mayor just a few minutes
Yes.
ago. The technology that he is asking us to implement has to make their end users' life easier, has to make the mayor's life easier, has to make the citizens' lives easier. So yeah, why would you take an existing process and add 15 more steps and make it even more complicated and just call it, well, it's best practices, or in the worst case, your software vendor is saying this is the only way you can use this system. This is the only workflow you can do. Yeah. Worst case scenario. You start going down the road of making things more complicated and the overall vision gets cloudier, that's a recipe for disaster. You will be right back where you were 2 or 3 years into your new system trying to find yet another system to address what you need.
But I mean, best practice is one thing, but where we are today with ChatGPT and AI taking over processes, to me, human-centric design is design where I don't have to do a thing. That's just me, I'm lazy. But it's going that way, right? The systems in the future, near future, they'll work off of expectations, not just requirements. What do you expect on a Monday morning as the mayor? What kind of dashboards do you want to see? On a Friday afternoon, what do you want to see? What processes haven't run from an IT perspective in 2 days? That may be a problem. We're doing that already with some technical services. So human-centric design, to me, is where the human isn't integral, isn't a bottleneck, doesn't have to do redundant stuff, that the software or software, for the most part, does it for you.
That's a great point. Something that's heuristic, something voyeuristic, something that is focused on trends. So rather than having to search for and try and figure out how to get a new report, a system could even recommend to you, hey, I noticed you've been querying these types of things on a regular basis. Here's another data set that might be of use for you. Some people find that a little off-putting and it's a little too, the computer's sort of taking over my life, but it's actually not, because again, you're getting decisions in the hands of the decision, or information in the hands of the decision makers as quickly as possible, and using it as a tool, not the end-all be-all. And I think one of the other aspects of this topic in particular is making sure that leadership doesn't get clouded by just running stats and reports and leveraging your system to tell you what to do. I think that's another key aspect that has to be looked at. So a system that acts more like a tool and a resource than, look at that dashboard every morning, and if that number isn't 17 or 18%, then I've got a real problem. That may or may not be the story. You still, as a human being, have to interpret that information and decide what's the best way to use that. And most importantly nowadays is filtering out bad information or information that's just not relevant to a decision. I think it's a struggle a lot of leaders have. I now have this new tool in front of me. Does that mean I have to let it tell me everything that I need to do and how to make a decision? Of course not. Yeah. You still have to be a leader. You still have to be in tune with your humanness and the fact that you're dealing with humans. You're leading humans.
Well, and the same mayor this morning told us if they're not doing, at the end of this project, if they're not doing things better and newer, not just putting lipstick on a pig, right? You're making new processes, you're doing things like you're in 2023, that's going to involve a lot of automation and human-centric design, because as a human, the mayor and the city administrator, they want to serve society. They want to serve their citizens. They want to have access to the tool sets and the data to make decisions. So at the end of the day, we're talking about process redesign, but with a heavy focus on automation and AI. And I don't know who's out there today in the ERP landscape that we serve that is advanced enough to take those things on. Because you're talking about chopping off complete business processes.
Yeah, but there's already, and we just talked about this in another video recently. You're already experiencing this with Amazon, with your online banking, with shopping through your local grocery store. You're already experiencing the development and innovation of these types of tools. It's not unreasonable to expect this out of your new ERP systems. You're leveraging a lot of money as an organization to buy a platform. It should function a lot like your citizens and your employees are already experiencing in their personal lives. Not more complicated or
Right.
less useful.
Right. Amazon's a great example. You bought these shoes, you might like these other ones. And I'd like to see that report, right? You look at cash flow every morning. You may want to look at receivables. I think that we're there today, not our clientele. Our clients most of them don't have that kind of reporting capability, but it can be had today. And it's just going to get better from there on, where you're right, you're not taking the human out of the process, but you are taking the human being the doer of the process.
Yeah.
You're making the human the decision maker, the absorber of information. So to me, I think that is human-centric design.
Yeah, and the benefit is we're having mayors and town managers and department directors and workflow managers start to ask that question more and more. Why can't it be like the app on my phone?
Yeah.
And it's a great question. Software vendors need to be looking at that. They need to innovate in that direction.
And that's a great point. I think Steve Jobs made a mission out of his life to make technology more human-centric, right? The whole interface with art and science and making things intuitive. Like when we bought the first iPhone, you knew what to do with it. There was no manual. I think that was the epitome of human-centric design.
Yeah.
In 2007, and we haven't gone much past that since then.
Yeah, and we all see it too when you pick up a piece of technology or a tool and you're using it and it's intuitive to use, and you tell yourself someone actually had their thinking cap on when they designed this product. I mean, that's when it's a great experience. It feels right. It feels like you think it's a solid investment. I'm glad that this technology isn't complicated to use. All these things is the way these software vendors, they need to go on that,
Yeah.
maintain a focus on.
Yeah, and that, by the way, is how our clients feel when they work with Avero.